There are more voices calling out for a pause to be held in terms of bringing 25,000 Syrian refugees to Canada by January 21st. The latest voice to be added to that list is Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall. He joins me now from his office in Regina. Premier Wall, everyone's saying bringing over Syrian refugees, noble cause. It's heartfelt, it's with Canadian values, but what's your concern with 25,000 refugees by January 1st?
Well, it is noble, and it's what Canada should be about, and it's what Saskatchewan is about. We actually are in the process of accepting an additional 600 refugees as a result of the issue really coming to the fore in the election campaign. That's that doesn't include any from these 25,000 that we're talking about now. But I don't recall in history where the country has said by a date, by a deadline, which is now only 45 days away, will we accept this quota, a specific number of refugees. And I don't think that's perhaps the wisest refugee policy to have for two reasons. One, we have concerns around settlement. We've checked with our major city mayors and settlement groups who are concerned about just capacity issues in our province. And secondly, there is a security issue. And yes, I think the events in Paris have underscored it. And whether or not any of the perpetrators of that heinous, murderous act were somehow allowed into Europe on a refugee stream or not, we know that there is as a risk, and we should be eliminating the risk through an effective screening program. And if it takes a pause to do that, not forever, but a pause to do it right, then I've sent a letter to the Prime Minister asking that he suspend this deadline.
So far, they're saying no to any pause or slowing down, despite the fact that several media reports have said one of the Paris attackers did come into Europe with a Syrian passport through Greece, October 3rd. A terrorist or suspected terrorist caught in a refugee camp in Calais trying to get from France into Britain. The Germans say that they have 10 ongoing investigations into terrorists or war criminals hiding among the refugees. The Italians picked up someone in a boat with 200 migrants. So this isn't a fear-mongering. This isn't a false pause. How does it make you feel then when Ralph Goodale is out there answering questions on this very issue and says, it's okay, we can screen them here, and if there's any problems, we'll deal with them in our justice system?
Well, I think that's what we need to avoid, obviously. And I think that's what Canadians want to be avoided. Canadians agree that this country has a track record that we're proud of, has a history that we're proud of welcoming refugees from around the world, from war-torn parts of the world, from persecution. Saskatchewan has that same reputation, and one that we're proud of. So we don't come to this conclusion lightly at all when we say, having talked to settlement groups, having talked to the mayors, and in the wake of what's happened in Paris and questions around proper screening, it is very, very wise, frankly, for the federal government to say we shouldn't be driven by a date. That doesn't make any sense. Let's be driven by outcomes, by a safe and secure process that has settlement efficacy to it. Let's be driven by that rather than a promise that was made in an election campaign. Canadians would forgive the Prime Minister if he said, look, events have overtaken a campaign promise and we need to get this right. Canadians would understand that and support that, I think.
One of the things that I wonder about, and I've been hosting on talk radio here in Ottawa the last little while, and as leadership seems to be saying, no, we won't take this pause, and you see events such as Paris, that people then start turning and saying, well, if I can't be sure that we're going to be safe, then I don't want anyone coming over. And it turns people from saying, yes, let's be warm and welcoming, but safe, to, no, get away. We don't want this as our problem. Do you think that's a real concern?
I think it would take a lot for Canadians to come to that view. But anything that risks the generosity of this country and of Canadians, again, is worth a second look by the federal government. It would take a lot for Canada to ever change the open door policy that we have, the warm welcome that we have extended and continue to extend to newcomers, to refugees from around the world. 70,000 newcomers in this province alone, right, in the last number of years as we've seen our province grow. So it would take a lot for that to change. We ought not to risk anything, though, that would ever change that sentiment, that value that we have as Canadians, including a date-driven, quota-driven, 45 days away process that we're looking at right now.
All right, Premier Wall, thanks very much.